Utah with another big home game in the Big 12. JT Wistrcill of Locked On Utes is here. And JT, I mean, Utah has finally won a Big 12 game this year. It felt like that took way too long. They're trying to win one at home.
It was the second game of the year in the Big 12.
Yep, took too long. Took too long.
Against your precious Red Raiders, might remind you, who you somehow don't have in your top 8 of your power rankings. I was surprised about that. But anyways.
No, those are not power rankings. Those are ratings. Those are ratings. Power rankings, very, very different. I do have them inside the top 10 because they're a very good team. But I want to bring the attention here to a once legendary Pac-12 matchup, RIP, Utah and Arizona State. And this has got playoff and conference title implications for both. I don't know that either can survive a loss here and wind up in the college football playoff. Certainly not as an at-large, but even then with the schedules they have going forward and the caliber of teams I feel like they are, I think playoff hopes are on the line for both of these teams.
I totally agree. I think Utah, in some ways, you could say they disappointed just with how bad it got against Tech. Granted, that was a much like you look at the Houston versus Tech game, right? And I know Connor Wegman got hurt, but that game was out of hand a lot earlier than that Utah Tech one was. I remind you, that was 10-13 at one point in the fourth quarter. And then Tech really stretched out, right? But Utah was right there. And Utah has annihilated the bad teams they've played, which is still a skill. Because I mentioned, Houston, then they go on the road and they barely squeeze by in Oregon State. So I do feel like it's a justification why Utah is still one of the first teams out of the AP poll receiving votes. This is a good Utah team. I think it's a good Arizona State team. That Mississippi State loss has actually aged very well. I thought it was going to age like milk. It's kind of starting to age like wine because that's a Mississippi State team that nearly went on the road.
Didn't surprise me.
There you go. Yeah. They nearly beat Tennessee, right? So that's a good loss now. We look at that. They've beaten a TCU and a Baylor team I like. But at the same time, Spencer, they just have not looked anything close to dominant. I don't know if I thought they'd look better than they have so far this year. They didn't look great against even like a Northern Arizona. Shout out Big Sky. They have not looked outstanding this year. So I do think this is a massive game because another loss for either of these teams, college football playoff, hopes in the drain. And I don't see how an Arizona State were to lose this game, and it's only their first Big 12 loss, but with the other gauntlet of a schedule they still have in Big 12 opponents, I think it's a must-win for each of these teams. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm with you there. And, for the Big 12 I've talked about this year, I don't think there's a 10-2 team that's going to get in the playoff. I just don't know where the quality out of conference wins are. Where would they be? Which team?
Utah with UCLA this weekend?
That sounds a good one.
There you go.
That's why we bring them on, folks, for wisecracks like that. Anyway, back to serious conversation. I don't see that. I haven't seen that all year based on what happened last season. BYU 10-2 with a road win against a playoff team, and they're left out and really not even seriously considered for the playoffs. So I think you've got to have two 11-win teams squaring off in the conference championship game, and I don't think either of these teams is even going to win out after this game, win or lose, because of the schedules that they have. Here's why I like Utah to. I didn't set that up as well as last time, but
the hat's back.
The hat is back. The hat is back for Utah. Here's why. This is less about Utah and more about Arizona State. Arizona State feels like they're teetering right now. They have escaped. They have scrapped by, and I'm not refusing to give them credit for those wins because I picked them to win both of those games. I'm picking them to lose here because I feel like this is the game where the mistakes that they have been making and the poor play that they have shown for some of the game, and then they get it right, I think that catches up with you here. I think Utah is locked in. As long as Devin Dampier can get going, then I think Utah will be just fine. I don't think this is going to be a super high-scoring game. This is not a traditional Big 12 matchup where you're going 45-40. I don't think you're getting to that level. And Sam Leavitt and Jordan Tyson, those guys have been playing good football. We knew that coming into the year. It's the rest of the team where I just look at Arizona State and I go, it's not bad. It's above average, but it's nothing better than above average. That's the way I see it. I look at Mississippi State, slow start. Baylor had to come back. TCU trailed, found some magic late, had to come back. I don't think that magic continues at Rice Eccles.
I totally agree. I would even say I don't think Sam Levitt's been what we thought he could be. This was an all-time bad year for like preseason quarterback hype, by the way. I think of all these guys, the Drew
It
Allers,
is pretty
Will
bad.
Nussmeier, Arch Manning, like, oh my gosh, like if you had preseason hype as a quarterback, it
Cade
hasn't gone
Klubnik.
great. Cade Klubnik, exactly. Like all of these guys. And Levitt, I do put in that group. I don't love QBR. Like I don't think QBR is everything. He is 61st right now in QBR. That's not great. Like that's crazy to think this guy that a lot of people thought was going to be a top 5 QB in college football is outside the top 60 in QBR. He has thrown 3 picks. He's been sacked 12 times on the year. Some of that's on his offensive line. Some of that also is absolutely on him, though, and the plays he tries to make and just do too much at times, too. Also, sacked 12 times. He gave up 4 against TCU. One of the guys who leads the nation in sacks, top 5, John Henry Daly, resides in Salt Lake City. That's a place that gets pretty wild and crazy as well for opposing offenses. A reminder, we are just 2 years removed from Arizona State coming up to Salt Lake City, and they got beat 55-3. The Sun Devils are a much better team than when that happened a couple years ago. But they are currently outside the top 8 in scoring offense and scoring defense in the Big 12 right now. They played some good offenses. I'm not saying they haven't, but that's where, like we said, they have not been as impressive. Tyson's amazing. No one else on their team receiving-wise over 200 yards on the season. Even Utah has 2 pass catchers who are over 200-yard receiving marker. Last year, Utah let Tetron McMillan come into their building, and they held him to 6 catches for 50 yards. I think Morgan Scalley, one of the best DCs in the country, is going to have a good plan to contain Jordan Tyson. I think they're going to be able to frustrate a Sam Levitt, and I think this is the game where we see, hey, that Utah offensive line is still a top 10 unit. They're not going against a top 10, maybe even top 5 D line in what Texas Tech had, and I think Utah establishes the run. They're top 10 in rushing yards per game right now, and I think Devin Dampier, the bye week, fell at a good time, getting that ankle a little healthy. I think Utah's going to win, and I think they got a good chance to cover that 5.5 spread.
Yeah, and I look at Utah in this spot, and the only thing I wonder about, because I'm not concerned about the defense, I'm not concerned about them being ready to go. You get Whittingham at home off a bye. I'm not worried about any of that. It's Devin Dampier. You know, the Texas Tech game was bad in the trenches. Texas Tech manhandled them. I think that's more about what Texas Tech is rather than what Utah isn't. And they've shown that in the game since then. But I looked at Devin Dampier in that game and thought, man, that's more than just Utah's offensive lines getting pushed around and they don't have a running game. That's something's not clicking. Something's wrong. Game's moving too fast. G5 to power 4 jump. I don't know. I couldn't put my finger on it, but I watched him in that game and when he had a long touchdown called back on a weird looking play that was Devin Dampier magic. And after that, which of course didn't count, it was a lot of nothing.
You're absolutely right. It was nothing, and it's concerning. But at the same time, I mean, Tech is holding teams to 11 points per game right now. I think what I learned from that Utah Tech game is that Utah is not capable right now of beating playoff caliber teams, and I absolutely believe that's what Texas Tech is. I think they are in a class of their own, the Big 12 Conference. Hence why you already said, Spencer, you don't know if you see another Big 12 team getting in right now. Especially after what Cincinnati just pulled off, and I like Cincinnati, but that's a game. If you're Iowa State, I think you got to win that game. So to me, that was more so Tech's defense than anything else because Dampier has been crushing everyone else and they have not played a lot of other good teams, right? Like West Virginia, not very good. I don't think Wyoming is very good. So that's where this is a really good test for Devin Dampier. But I already talked about it. He was clearly at least a little banged up with that whole injury saga we went through a couple years ago. I know another quarterback injury saga in Salt Lake City. Where have we heard that before, right? But I feel like he was a little banged up there. He's going against what will be a worse defense this week. And they're okay in their rushing defense department. Pass defense, all right. But we already talked about the big play gave up against Mississippi State. And they just haven't seen a rushing attack like this Utah offensive line. The key for Utah, get in third and manageable. I mentioned this stat on your show before, Spencer, but when they played UCLA, Utah was 14 of 16 on third down. Almost all of those were 3rd and 4, or like 3rd and short, basically. Versus Texas Tech, that number was 4 for 14 on third down. What happened was all 3rd and long. I think this Utah offense is going to get themselves in third and manageable frequently because they are not facing a Texas Tech level defense. Utah is a good team. I think this is their opportunity to prove they are still a top 4 to 5 team in the Big 12 by playing what I believe is another top 4 to 5 team. And I do think they get this win and a statement. Let's not forget Devin Dampier grew up in Arizona and everything down there too. Kenny Dillingham, familiar with him. And man, ASU is trying to do everything they can to prepare for the weather right now. I don't know if you guys have seen some of the water bottle videos and everything going on, but I just don't think the Sun Devils are up to the task this week against Utah. They could win, but I don't see it.
You mentioned something in there that I think applies to what I've seen from Arizona State this year and is kind of what I was expecting. Not entirely, but kind of. Everything's just kind of, that's fine.
Yeah.
It's not bad. It's good enough. It's okay. It's all right. He gets the job done. That's what I feel like almost every unit is for Arizona State. Run defense, pass defense, run offense, pass offense, situational football, special teams. It's all just
Fine.
Fine, good enough, but I don't think it's good enough to go overcome Utah in Salt Lake City. So I'll take the Utes in the return of my hat.
Hold them back in, baby.
Brought to you by the Game Caps. Check them out; they're awesome. So I'm going Utah 28-17. I like Utah. I think they get it done. You have a score prediction?
33-25, Utah Utes, baby.
33-25. That was a sicko score right there. I'm here for it, though. JT Wistrcill, Locked On Utes. Great as always. Appreciate everyone listening. See you next time. And until then, hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day.